Welcome back, yogis. So we're going to continue on with our yoga series, and they're about 30-minute classes. So today's going to be roughly around 30 minutes. We're going to be working on the different planes of the body. So we have sagittal, coronal, and transverse. What does that mean to you? When you come into any different yoga pose, there's different planes of the body. We're going to be working on the coronal planes of the body today. We're going to be at the wall, which is a really nice place to come deeper into your poses because we're using the wall as a prop to really allow the body to open. And sometimes when you're working with gravity, you may not get the very best and deepest positioning of your body because you're working so much with muscles and positioning and gravity, and there's a lot going on depending on what type of a practice you have. Be it more of a grounding practice, or maybe you have more of a fluid practice, you're coming into some vinyasa. Vinyasa moves pretty quickly, and it doesn't always allow you to savor those moments because you're moving quickly from one pose to the other. So today we're going to be really covering basically just 3 poses at the wall. We're going to be coming into Trikonasana triangle. We're going to move that into Virabhadrasana 2, Warrior 2, into extended side angle, and then finally into Ardha Chandrasana, half moon. So actually 4 poses we're going to be working on, all of the wall. And in order to get there, we want to open up a little bit through the hips. So things that we're going to need for our practice today: having a strap. If you don't have a strap, a robe belt or a regular belt can actually work. So kind of be inventive around your home, finding things that could work as a traditional belt you might find in a studio. Other things to consider are having a couple of blocks, books, Tupperware, firm pillows, something that give you a little bit of elevation. So having a little bit of elevation is pretty nice today, unless you have a pretty solid practice and you don't use blocks traditionally in your practice. Having blocks is something that adds some elevation. Even a folding chair can work really fabulous for this type of a practice. So grabbing those things, and then go ahead and meet you right back on your mat for a great practice today. Welcome back. Once you've found the things you need, we're going to go ahead and just start today's practice just by rooting into the earth. We're going to take a very traditional Sukhasana. Sukhasana is called easy pose, and we're just basically crossing at the ankles and tucking the feet gently underneath the thighs. Now, if this pose is not conducive for your practice, bringing a little bit of elevation into this. So if you see your knees, they're sitting up a little bit high. If you come up on a little bit of elevation, this will draw the knees down, recreate the natural curve of the spine, and it feels amazingly much better. If sitting on your mat feels not so good. So things that can do that: sitting up on a couple of blocks, some pillows or some blankets stacked up will give that elevation, and just place it underneath the sit bones to gently raise the sit bones. Take a moment here and begin to root the tailbone into the earth. Allow the shoulders to roll back and down, and then take a few shoulder rolls forward, a few shoulder rolls back, twist from side to side. Maybe take a nice yawny stretch and just begin to release. Once again, allowing the elbows to release underneath the shoulders. Palms can be placed up or down. Take a moment here, allow the eyes to soften and close. Begin to close off outside distractions and draw your awareness inward. As you draw your awareness inward, begin to focus on the content and the quality of your breath. Slow, steady inhales, slow, steady exhales. Let's take about 5 rounds of breath just to start our practice. After that 5th breath, go ahead and bring palm to palm compression to heart space. Press the thumbs lightly into the chest and begin to bow the chin toward the chest. Begin to honor your practice, this time you set for yourself. As you take a moment of reflection, begin to release the past. Bring yourself and ground into the present moment and take a glimpse of a bright and beautiful new future. If you'd like to set an intention for this practice, for your day, for the week, wherever you are in your work week, taking a moment, allowing these words to form your mind. Take 3 breaths at heart space, finding the power and the positivity of your intention. Last 2. And last 1, bring the chin to center, slowly bring your eyes back to focus. Inhale the hands up through the midline. As you exhale, celebrate the beginning of a beautiful day. We'll take 2 more just like that. Last 1. and release it out. Draw the knees up. If you are in height, you can go ahead and begin to bring yourself off the height. And we're going to extend those legs out nice and wide. Coming into Upavista Konasana. Nice wide-legged space between the legs. Now, if you are more flexible and you want to create a little bit more space, you can begin to walk the legs as far apart as you need to start your practice. Now remember, we are starting our practice, so starting in a place that's right for your body. Go ahead and place the hands in the inner line of the legs. Press your hands lightly into the mat. Let the shoulders roll back and down and allow the chest to drop through the gate of the shoulders. Keep your gaze straight away. Tailbone roots, spine lengthens, breath deepens. Go ahead and walk your hands back behind the body. Let the shoulders roll back and down. And don't lean into your arms. Take a little light grip with your fingertips and allow the shoulders to roll back and down and allow the chest to draw even more through the gate of the shoulders. Tailbone roots. And breathe. And then we'll go ahead and bring ourselves back into the midline and begin to walk yourself forward, keeping the spine long. Now, depending on your level of flexibility, if you're super flexible and you want to begin to bring yourself all the way down to the floor, you can totally go there. If you're a person that needs more of a progressive practice, give yourself some time to breathe into this. Take a look at the knees. Make sure your knees are pointing directly up, pressing evenly between the ball and the heel. Legs are nice and active. And continue to walk yourself forward. And then eventually allowing the spine to round and bringing yourself just as deep as you need to today. Inhale brings us right back to center. We'll go ahead and take the hand underneath the right knee, draw the sole of the foot in toward the body. If the knee doesn't come all the way down, go ahead and rest it on a blanket or a block, just so that you have it resting. It's not just hanging out here. Make sure it's rooted down. Hands come back into the midline, shoulders roll back and down, spine lengthens, and breathe. Go ahead and walk mindfully over the extended leg. We're going to come into a variation of Janu Sirsasana, headed into pose. As you inhale, press the pads of your fingers lightly into your mat and begin to allow it to rotate through your torso. So rotate your torso over the extended leg. Keep allowing that right hip to open. Inhale, creating space. Exhale, twist. So as we come into this twist, we're coming into transverse plane of motion in our body. So twisting or moving across the midline, bringing us into transverse plane. And then begin to inhale, allowing the torso to gently drape over the extended leg. Last 3, last 2, and last 1. We rock right back to center, realign the torso back to center, hand underneath the knee, extend that leg out. We come right back into Upavista, hands in the midline. Pause here, place the hand underneath the left knee, draw the sole of the foot in toward the body. If the knee doesn't come all the way down, please rest it on something. Hands come back to the midline, lengthen that spine. One more breath here, and we come into transverse by rotating the torso over the extended leg. Inhale, creating space. Exhale, twist. So moving with your breath until you've moved to your maximum, and then begin to walk your hands down the length of the leg. Again, coming as deep as you need to. Last 3, last 2, last 1. We walk it right back to center and realign the torso right at center. Placing the hand underneath the right knee, soles of feet come together. Go ahead and make a nice weave and place that weave around the feet. Allow the shoulder blades to roll back and down and a heart space to move between the gate of the shoulders. Knees move from sidewall to sidewall, so opening up through the hips. Mindfully begin to release. We walk our hands back behind the body, shoulders roll back and down, and then we place the arms just behind the spine, just to give a little bit of a verbal cue to lengthen the spine. So we're not leaning back, we're actually right in the midline. So directing the tailbone down and then rooting the spine up from the tailbone out through the crown of the head. Go ahead and walk your hands back to your feet. You can stay here or bring this into a forward fold. Walking your hands forward. Slightly coming forward as much as you need to. So coming into a sagittal plane of our body. So moving forward. Inhale, we walk the hands back to center. Place the hands along the knees and closing the knees up like a bow. We'll go ahead and extend those legs out. Bringing the hands alongside the hips, shoulders roll back and down. Tailbone roots, spine lengthens. And then we'll just begin to walk our hands down the lengthened leg, coming into Paschimottanasana, forward fold. And again, we've just begun our class. So again, just taking your practice as much as you need to. Pressing evenly between the ball and the heel. Pay attention to the back line of the legs. As the hamstrings begin to lengthen, it creates a little bit more space in your body. Pay attention to your low back. Inhale brings us back to center. We swing the legs to the side. We come into table position. As we come into table position, wrist directly underneath the shoulders, knees about hip distance apart, wrist directly underneath the shoulders. And we come into some cat and cow. As you inhale, draw breath into the lower abdominals, and then send the breath all the way up through the length of the spine. Hollow out the belly, gaze between the hands. Inhale, direct the chest to the gate of the shoulders, head and neck move with the spine, belly releases toward the earth. And we begin to mindfully flow between cat and cow, moving with spinal mobility. Feeling the ebb and flow of breath through the spine and just letting your body move with your breath. Last 3. Last 2. And last breath here. Right back to center. And release. We're going to transition here into Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog. We do that by rolling the fingertips to the palms of the hands. Fingers are spread nice and wide. Pinkies on the outside edge of your mat. Press your ring and your thumb into the mat. Engaging the arms by sending energy up through the arms. Engaging the shoulders by rolling them back and down. So arms are nice and strong. Keeping space between the shoulder blades. Tuck your toes, bend your knees, send those sit bones high down dog. As we come into dog, taking a moment here to walk the dog by treading through the feet. As you begin to find some movement, you can begin to transition between plank and dog. You can extend a leg up. And maybe open up through the hips if that feels good. So you've got a little bit of playing time here just to create some movement for your body. And you've got a little bit of time in your practice here. If you want to move through a flow, you can certainly do that. Go ahead and bring it right back to stillness. Walk the hands back toward the feet, and we come into Ardha Uttanasana, half forward fold. Space between the crown and the tailbone, chest draws to the gate of the shoulders. Hamstrings are beginning to open. Say hello, hamstrings. Oh yeah. Inhale, exhale, deepen forward fold. You want to take a little deeper bend to the knees, allowing a little more decompression in the spine. You can bend very strongly through the knees. You can grab onto opposite elbows. You can shake your head no or nod your head yes. You can walk your hands under your feet for gorilla. You can even wrap your hands around the back of the calves. And then if you want to challenge yourself, you can begin to straighten out through the legs and come a little deeper. Inhale brings us right back to center. Bend the knees and inhale, the arms go up overhead. Get nice, long, deep stretch, maybe even make it a steeple grip, lengthen long, and then maybe taking it into a little bit of a back bend. Inhale brings us back to center and right down through the midline. All right, we have moved right up into our wall series. So have a block here, maybe 2, depending on where you are in your practice. I'm just going to go ahead and bring it right up to the wall. Now you can bring your mat right up to the wall if you need to, or you can just be right on the floor. So sliding where you need to be. And we're going to start moving to the left side first. We'll step forward with the left foot, and we'll step back with the right. So as you come into this practice, the wall is a beautiful tool to give you alignment cues. So take a look at that front foot. Make sure it's directly out from the ankle. So if you look at your second and third toe, draw a line back and make sure that the heel is lined up with the arch of the back foot. And then you can use that wall as a guide, so using that as a prop. And then I want you to continue to challenge yourself, walking that leg back as much as you need to. If you have longer legs, you might feel that you want just a little bit more opening. We're going to start here, and we're going to begin to move into some bends and straights. Now, as you come into some bends and straights, I want you to pay attention to your knee. Make sure it's not in or out, but center the knee over the second and third toe. This is keeping the joints nice and safe as we come in here, so strengthening those joints. So coming into a few bends and straights, and then release. We'll straighten out through the back, the front leg. We're going to bump that back hip out. We're going to inhale the arms out to the side, and your back probably has a little bit of contact with the wall. So reaching from fingertip to fingertip, not bunching the shoulders up, but letting those shoulders come right back down. Reaching out, looking over the front middle finger. And then when you're ready, begin to bump your back hip out and continue to reach. Now, you might find that Hatha triangle, just by placing a hand on the inner line of the front leg. And then you can see, extending out from fingertip to fingertip, starting with your gaze down, and then you're beginning to bring your gaze upward as you're able. You can also place your hand on a block. So if you've chosen to use a block, you can place that block right up next to the wall. So several options here, whether you're using a block at any setting or just place a hand on the inner line of the leg. So as we come into Trikonasana triangle pose, you begin to bring the top hand to the hip and we'll rotate through the torso. So getting that rotation, that's a really important element of the pose. And then inhaling the arm up overhead. So we come into this first, just to see ourselves flow into this with our breath, and then really working on alignment elements as we come into the pose. Take one more breath here, and then we'll go ahead and inhale it right back to center. We're going to bend through that front knee as we bring it into Virabhadrasana 2. Now in Virabhadrasana 2, the torso is right in the midline. You're not reaching over that bent knee, but you're right in the midline. Gazing over the front middle finger. Coming into a coronal plane of the body, that side-to-side motion. Mindfully begin to release. We'll begin to bend the elbow and bring it onto the knee. Starting first by inhaling the arm up overhead, then drawing it alongside the body. Now again, depending on your level of flexibility, you can completely omit this. Bring your hand down the block or all the way down to the floor. So depending on where you need to be in your practice today. And bring it back to center and bring that top hand to the hip. We're going to begin to move away from the wall just a bit. We're going to get in line of that back foot, and then we're begin to bring it up to the wall, straightening out through the front leg. Now again, you may not need a block here. You might find that just bringing your hand all the way to the floor is where you need to be, but I find when you're using the wall as a prop, it's really nice to have blocks just to give you a little additional feedback. Again, we're beginning to allow the hips to stack, and we're beginning to rotate through the torso. There we go. So rotating through the torso, and then bring the top arm up overhead. And breathe. So by using the wall, sometimes you may find that you're able to hold this pose a lot more steadily and a lot longer than maybe in a traditional practice. And then take a gaze down the foot. Bring your gaze back up again. Bring the top hand to the hip, bend the knee, and it brings us right back down. Now, one of the important elements of Ardha Chandrasana half moon is when you're in a balanced situation straight on your mat without a wall, it's very common to draw the toes in. One of the important elements of this pose is to keep the toes directly out from the ankle. So you have about a heel to arch line. So really watching that foot doesn't turn in, it stays right in that midline. And it's a lot easier to do when you're using the wall. Good. We're gonna go ahead and rotate that to the other side. So changing to the other side, heel to arch alignment, and then taking that proper spacing in between the legs as you need to. If you have longer legs, taking a little wider space in between the legs, and then finding that just right spacing to the wall, using a block or not, but having those props there if you need them. We're gonna bring the hands to the hips. We're just gonna move through a few bends and straights. So if you are using a block, just place it on the inside of the right foot, and just moving into some bends and straights. And then go ahead and bring it back to stillness. Find that just right spacing, heel to arch alignment. Good. And then go ahead and inhale the arms out, extending out from the shoulders. Shoulders roll back and down. Not up here, but right down here. Breathe it in. Begin to bump the back hip out and continue to reach. You can release your hand to the inner line of that front leg. Inhaling the top arm up overhead for more of a Hatha triangle. Or begin to bring that hand down. Bring it to the block. Begin to rotate through the torso. So getting that rotation, very, very important element in this pose. Bring the top arm up overhead. Take a look down at your front foot. Make sure it's right in that midline. And then once again, begin to bring your gaze upward, extending out from fingertip to fingertip. And breathe. Bring the top arm back to the hip, and we bend to the front knee, coming into Virabhadrasana 2, Warrior 2. Torso right in the midline, rooting down with the feet, extending out from fingertip to fingertip. Pause here, and then continue to reach over the extended leg, either bringing your elbow to the knee, to the block, or all the way down to the floor. But since we are using the block, maybe staying here with this block. Again, rotating through the torso, inhaling top arm up overhead, extending out from fingertip to fingertip. Bring it alongside the head and neck. You want a little bit more of that nice extension. And breathe. Inhale the top arm back to the hip. We're going to get light in that back foot, and we're going to be prepared to move upward. So coming into Ardha Chandrasana. Rotate through the torso. Once you've got that, press out through the back heel and inhale the top arm up overhead. Challenge yourself by bringing your gaze upward and breathe. So a little different variation when you're using the wall as a prop because you're not worried so much about falling out of this pose. The wall is there to keep you right in alignment. And then go ahead and bring that top arm back to the hip. We'll bend through the front knee and we'll step it down. Coming into Virabhadrasana 2, straighten your leg, and then drawing both feet forward. Then we'll go ahead and step it out. Go ahead and take a little shake out of this. We're going to do the same 4 poses, but we're going to do it away from the wall now. Now, if you really enjoy the wall and that you want to stay there, then you certainly can. Otherwise, have a block on each end of your mat. We'll just come right into this practice. So coming into the center of your mat, my head may or may not be in here. Inhale the arms up overhead. As you exhale, right down to heart space, fingertips come together and step it wide apart on your mat. We're going to begin to move to the left side as we did, drawing the left foot forward, right heel in, heel to arch alignment. Bump the back hip out and reach. We bring it right into either Hatha triangle or using a block or coming all the way down to the earth if you're more flexible. And breathe. Remember the external rotation with the torso, reaching out from fingertip to fingertip, bringing your gaze upward as you're able. Inhale brings us back to center. We bend through the front knee, coming into Virabhadrasana 2. From Virabhadrasana 2, reaching over the knee and releasing the hand to the block or all the way to the earth. Hand move up overhead and then alongside the body, really creating that beautiful space. And breathe. Inhale brings the top hand back to the hip, using your block or nothing at all, taking a light step and bringing that forward and raising that back leg. Take a look at the front foot, make sure it stays right in line. And then when you're ready, extend the arm up overhead. Pressing out through the heel and breathe. Bring the hand back to the hip and then go ahead and step it down without falling out and straight. And we move to the other side. This time we have right foot forward, left heel in, heel to arch alignment, taking that just right spacing in between the hands and inhale the arms out, extending. Good. Bump your back hip out and reach. Continue to reach until you release your hand to the inner line of that front leg, to a block or all the way down to the earth, depending on your level of flexibility. Extending out from fingertip to fingertip, rotating through the torso, opening your heart, and breathe. Bring the top hand back to the hip, and then inhale, bring it right back to center, bending through the front knee, and coming into Virabhadrasana 2, Warrior 2. Reach out beyond the knee, releasing your elbow to your knee, to your block, or all the way to the earth. Rotate through the torso, inhale the top arm up overhead and bring it alongside the body. Bring the hand back to the hip, get light in the back foot, and then go ahead and bring it right back up into Ardha Chandrasana half moon. Top hand moves up overhead and bring your gaze upward when you're able. And breathe. Top hand moves back to the hip, bend through the front knee. We bring it right back into Virabhadrasana 2. Both feet draw forward. Hands move up overhead, palms come together. Inhale the hands up through the midline. Release the hands behind the body and begin to bring it forward in forward fold. Mindfully release your hands. Go ahead and bring them underneath the chin. Walk your hands over to the left. Take a nice stretch here. You'll be wrapping your hands around the back of the calf muscle. Inhale brings us back to center. We walk mindfully over to the other side. Inhale brings us back to center. Walking all the way underneath the body. Extending the arms long. Coming into a nice forward fold. Now if the crown doesn't come all the way to the earth, you can begin to place blocks underneath the crown, bringing the earth up to the crown. So finding where you need to be. Last 3. Last two, last one. Walk it right back to center, heel toe, heel toe. Draw the heels in and release it down. We come into Malasana squat pose. Palms come to the heart space, elbows to the inner line of the legs, opening up through the hips, and breathe. So hold here for a few breath counts. Just really savoring the last little bit of our practice. Last three, last two, and last breath. Release the hands down. Go ahead and release the sit bones down, and we begin to bring it right back down. Go ahead and release your hands behind your body, and then we'll just begin to windshield wiper from side to side, just letting that release from our bodies completely. The next time you fall to the right, go ahead and swing your left arm around, and we'll come into a twist, coming back in that transverse plane of the body, staying here, or coming down a little bit deeper by walking your hands away from the body and allowing the torso to rest. Inhale brings us back to center, and we begin to bring it right back into movement from side to side. The next time the knees fall to the left, go ahead and swing your right arm to the side, and we begin to bring our gaze behind the mat. So feeling that beautiful twist in the torso. Staying here once again, or walking the body down to the mat, coming to any level that you need, and breathe. Inhale brings us back to center, and we go ahead and flow from side to side just a bit. And we bring it right back to center. Bringing our bodies down to the mat, arms extended out, palms face each other, and as you release, all the way down, one vertebra at a time. Bring the arms up overhead, extend it nice and long with the fingers and the toes, creating space underneath the armpits, lengthening along through the side bodies. Nice long spine, one more big breath here, and as you exhale, draw the knees into the body. Go ahead and rock from side to side. Create just enough movement that you need. And then mindfully begin to release the feet down and extend your legs out. Now, if you prefer to close your practice with any other posture, you can come down to the belly for belly down Shavasana. You can curl up on your side. You can even come into a seated posture. If you are choosing to come into traditional Shavasana, let the shoulders gently roll underneath the body, palms facing upward. Allow the feet to fall out to the side. And go ahead and begin to close our practice, coming into a beautiful breathing practice, letting the breath begin to slow and deepen. As you breathe into the body, we begin to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 3, 2, 1 as you release the breath. Again, 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5, and 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Continue to breathe into the body, allowing the breath to slow and deepen, equalizing and balancing the inhale and the exhale, moving you deeper and deeper and deeper. Know that you have arrived in the most beautiful, perfect place, Shavasana. You can stay here for as long as you need to. And always know that if you close your eyes, you can always come right back to this space at any time. All you have to do is close your eyes. And this was your 30-minute or so wall yoga. From my heart to yours, yogis. Namaste.